If you are selling agency services and you have no sales experience or you hate sales, I want you to listen up because that's me, and I'm going to show you how I've coped with it and I've become pretty good at agency sales and how you can too by following these methods. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is what am I defining here when it comes to agency sales and why people don't like it, why you can be bad at it, and so on. So first of all, sales or sale is a four-letter word, and a lot of people are afraid of it because they think that they're really convincing somebody to do something that they don't want to do, or that they're selling somebody on something that they don't need, or they're selling somebody on something that they're not worthy of doing. So a lot of people aren't very good at sales because they're not very confident in their skills or what they're selling. And a lot of this has to do with either a lack of experience or imposter syndrome, right? So a lack of experience saying, I don't really know what I'm doing, so why would I be good at selling it? So there's a lot of lack of confidence there. Then imposter syndrome is when you are good at it, you just don't think you're good enough because you're comparing yourself to others. Now, both of those things are things that are overcome either by evaluating yourself and saying, well, why do I have imposter syndrome and am I ready yet? So overcoming that with confidence. And then as far as experience, the experience gap, you just need to get experience, right? So there is something, I can't really tell you how to get experience other than you need to get experience to have a certain level of confidence. In this video, if you have no experience and no confidence, this video is probably not for you. It's probably a little bit too advanced for you. Just going to be completely honest. Okay, so for those of you who have delivered services or know that if you deliver something to somebody, it's going to be good, effective, what they need, you'll deliver it on time, on budget, you're pretty confident in that area, you just have no idea how to go about sales, this video is for you, okay? So the first thing is, I've already touched upon something here, is that the biggest asset you have as a salesperson that nobody can take away from you is the experience, right? So you have the ability to be in a role called a sales engineer, and a sales engineer is usually the person who ends up building the solution. And so generally speaking, you're probably not going to be a typical trained salesperson anyway when you're selling something. You're really being more of a sales engineer versus a salesperson. What the sales engineer does is they confidently build a solution during the sales process so that somebody says, when I work with this service provider, I know that the service they're going to provide is going to be effective. I trust them. They have rapport with me. They have the experience. And so a sales engineer is really just building out the trust. Now, that's the greatest asset you have if you're somebody who knows what you're doing for the service you provide, right? If you know what you're doing, being a sales engineer is an asset, and it's super easy to do because you're just basically taking what you deliver anyway and you're talking to somebody before they become your customer. So you're taking what you would do to a client already and you're doing it in a pre-sales initiative. Now, usually where people fall short is that they think that the sales engineer role is all they need to do. They don't realize that there's a second role in any positive sales team, and that is the actual sales mechanics of blocking and tackling. It's the fundamentals of doing sales. Now, the fundamentals of sales are actually quite different than sales engineering. Sales engineering is about building the solution. Sales is about building the audience, the rapport, getting in front of people, getting an audience, getting the message in front of people, doing it consistently, and following a process. So traditional sales is actually more of a process than anything. Basically, you need to have a lead, an opportunity that you're working with. That opportunity needs to go from minimally aware of you or somewhat aware of you or problem aware of their own state or solution aware that they need a solution all the way to wanting to buy from you. And that's what the salesperson does, the traditional classically trained salesperson does, is that it takes somebody from where they're at now and they stay with them as they go through things. Now, the reason why a sales engineer, why you can usually do well engineering a solution if you're already further deep into the sales process, is because they've already decided they wanted to work with you, and all they want is that solution you have. The traditional sales process is really just getting somebody across those levels of awareness. Now, you can probably imagine that's not a skill that very many people naturally have. Taking somebody who doesn't know who you are and then getting them to trust you. But people who are really good at sales, they do that either intuitively, they have a natural talent for it, I guess, or they realize that that's what the scope is. Somebody barely trusts you to wanting to buy from you, taking out all the risk of that entire buying process and getting them to be somebody who wants to be there, to be somebody who becomes your client. Okay, so that is something that can be learned, and it's actually very few people who have that intuitive. But the people who are the best salespeople, they grasp onto that fact once they know of it, and then they just never let go of it. Is that your job is to progress somebody to the point where they're comfortable in working with you. Well, guess what? You can do that even if you don't have sales experience. It is a process. It is not necessarily something that you have to have an innate skill. So it's a myth to think that you need to have an innate skill to be good at sales. The reality is that all you really need to do is to know that these things are there. And when you're talking to somebody, you need to have the right conversation for where they are in the awareness spectrum. So the first thing is you don't need to necessarily engineer a solution for them too early. If you're just talking to somebody, they're not ready for your solution. That is somebody who's product or even fully aware of what you are. They're the ones who need the solution engineer. They need the sales engineer. So what you need to do at first is you need to understand what is their problem. So the first thing you can ever do to be really good at sales is to listen to people and find out what their problems are. Now, in terms of a sales process, I call this discovery, right? Discovery is all about you listening to somebody, listening, not really talking, not engineering a solution, just listening to them. What are their experiences? What are their fears? What are their doubts? What are their challenges they're going through? Understanding what their problems are and seeing if your solution might be the right way for them to go. Generally speaking, it is, right? Generally speaking, if you want to sell somebody, your solution is the right solution. But they're not ready to hear that yet. You're just ready to hear their problems, to understand and to think if they're somebody you want to work with. So the first step is to listen to, discover, and uncover problems to see if it's going to be a good fit. And then only after you've completed discovery do you want to start to see what the solution is. Now, building the solution is something that takes time, and you want to take your time in doing it. So after the discovery call, you don't just say, I know the exact answer. You say, hey, let me get back to the information you have and see if we can propose a solution that's going to help you solve your problems, okay? So discovery is one call or one situation. Could be on a phone, could be a 15-minute Zoom call to see what their problems are and see if they're problems that you want to solve and if there are people that you want to work with. And then you get to your pitch. Your pitch process is where you are able to put together a solution that there would be. Now, this is where the sales engineering part can come into play. And this is also where being a classically trained salesperson, understanding sales structure can be valuable as well. Because part of your sales call is structural and part of it is the actual solution. Funny thing is the actual solution you have is a minimal part of the song and dance of an overall sales process. Now, why is that? What does that even mean? Well, the reality is that your solution is sort of the thing you present at the end. That's your offer. That's what you're going to offer to the person. And generally speaking, it's the same offer over and over again for pretty much everybody you work with. If you have streamlined services, if you implement something called service stacking, which I have a book on, if you do any of those things, basically the offer at the end is pretty straightforward. It's one of a few options that you've already developed that you're putting forward. It's really the song and dance and the structure around listening to them again, understanding their problems, giving them confidence in working with you, sharing that you are the right solution for them, minimizing their risk that you're going to be doing in that overall pitch process. Okay. And so that's where it's really important. So as we're talking about it here, sales engineering, the reason why you probably do really well with referrals, people who are referred to you, and not as well with new people that are coming in is because you don't have the overall salesperson, the classically trained salesperson experience. You have the sales engineer experience, and that's all they're looking for is that engineering because they're super aware of who you are. Now, the final part of this process, the final part of success in sales is going to be in follow-up. Okay, now this isn't a sales engineering thing at all. This is a sales process thing. It's basically following up, making sure that people are aware that that you present them with pricing for your offer, that you give them an idea as to what it's going to be like to work with you, timeline, any kind of urgency that they need to have, any kind of scarcity in you not having a lot of availability, following up and making sure that they know that you are ready to work with them, but they need to make a decision fast and getting to that point where you have that decision. So following up is the final frontier in making all this work. Now, as I went through this, the funny thing you'll learn is that the reason why you're really good at selling referrals or people who come to you through word of mouth is because they're the most aware people of you. And all you need to do is engineer yourself a solution and you're ready to go. But the sooner you want to get better at sales overall and you want to get bigger deals and you want to get more projects, make more money, make more revenue for your business, you have to really understand the process that a normal, classically trained salesperson goes through. You don't need to hire somebody to do this. That's the best part. You just need to do it. You just need to put those things in place. It adds 1, 2, maybe 3 steps to what you're doing. There's software that helps you get efficient at it, like CRM CRMs. You can hire an assistant to help you work through things. But that is basically the 80-20 of becoming good at sales for an agency or a service business when you have no sales experience or you're afraid of sales, okay? So as long as you can get over some of the mental barriers, the next thing is really process barriers. And the process I laid out right here and the process that I lay out in my Profit Pillars program is exactly what you need to be able to get started. Okay, so that's all for this video on sales. If you aren't good at sales or if you have an agency and you're not really sure how to do it, that is the 80-20 of it. Hopefully you can use this and apply it to making your business and your adventures go stronger. And I look forward to hearing any comments or questions you have in the comments. And if you like this video and you like this new direction we're taking our YouTube channel, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. That is what makes us go around. Make sure you go through a bunch of our videos, see all the cool things we have here, especially the video where I talk about the setup behind me and how this came to be and how we are able to record these videos. So let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you on the next video.